This is the story of a funeral. The funeral of a paint tube. In the mid-19th century, British painter Edward Burne-Jones, central figure of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, was using a popular pigment known as mummy brown. He received the visit of another painter who mentioned what it was actually made of. Burne-Jones jumped in horror when he learned that mummy wasn't just a word on a label. His beautiful warm brown paint came from the ground remains of Egyptian mummies. Yes, literal human corpses. As the story goes, he was so disturbed by the realization that he buried his tube of paint in his garden, holding a small funeral for it. It's one of those stories that sounds like a dark joke, except it's true. Disturbingly true. Artists really did paint with human corpses. Mummy brown was a pigment made by grinding up the flesh of ancient mummies. Really. During the 16th and 17th century, mummified humans and even mummified cats were excavated and ground into powder. Some mummified corpses contained bitumen and was then believed to have several benefits. This mummy powder was originally made for medicinal purposes, as it was believed since Pliny the Elder that ingesting the material contained in the mummy would have healing properties. Spoiler, it doesn't. Don't ingest a mummy. The best you can get is a curse. So this weird superstition goes back to antiquity, and mummies were being ground up during the medieval period and sold in apothecary shops as mummia. At some point, people started to realize that it was actually a rich and earthly powder, one that maybe would make a great painting pigment. And this is how mummy brown was invented. In some cases, it was combined with myrrh and white pitch to produce a more versatile pigment between burnt umber and raw umber. Some say it had more of a bituminous violet brown tone, deep and glowing, so would make it ideal for skin tones and shadows. It appeared in the palettes of several artists of the Romantic and Victorian eras, such as Delacroix and many of the Pre-Raphaelites. It's hard to know exactly what specific work has mummy brown. Museums could test for it, but it would be very tricky and potentially destructive for the artwork. So the mystery is still alive, or maybe I should say the mystery is still preserved through death. Which one of those paintings in all those museums has been done with human remains? No one will ever know. So how did this even happen? How come human remains ended up in paintings? There's always been a fascination for ancient Egypt in the Western world, and it turns out that mummies were once plentiful in Egypt. Originally reserved for the elite, mummification eventually became widespread in ancient Egypt, and if you count all the sacred animals, it is estimated that the Egyptians buried millions of mummies. A single burial ground discovered not long ago is thought to contain 10,000s. The trade started in the Middle Ages, and as commerce grew in the Renaissance, apothecaries and merchants were importing thousands of mummies from Egypt to grind up and sell. During the 19th century, with the rise of Orientalism, the mummy trade exploded to feed the demand of European travelers and tourists. This trade was illegal, yet so lucrative that local authorities couldn't prevent it. And as you guess, as time went on, real Egyptian mummies became scarce, so things started to get even more disturbing. With demand surpassing supply, a black market version of mummy brown emerged. It originated from a not-so-ancient source: the bodies of recently deceased criminals and slaves. Scoundrels began faking mummies, wrapping up corpses in bitumen-soaked bandages just to meet demand. The whole trade was grotesque, disgusting, morbid, and highly unethical. So, should we cancel those artists who used mummy brown? In my opinion, no. First of all, because canceling artists is always a bad idea, especially after centuries, and more importantly, because it's not their fault. Artists weren't responsible for the trade. The pillaging and desecration of ancient Egyptian tombs was a thing long before the Europeans showed interests in buying mummies. Artists like Burnt Jones weren't even being ghoulish about it. Most of them didn't realize what they were using. I'm pretty sure that you're quite happily using ivory black, right? Ivory is just a cool name on the label, but can't possibly be real ivory, right? I mean, that would be totally unethical to kill an elephant to make black paint. People wouldn't sell that, right? And in the case of ivory black, you would be right. Today, yes, today it is made from charred animal bones, not from real ivory. We're judging from our modern point of view with our modern ethics and traceability, but we have to realize that this didn't exist between the 16th and 19th century. For most, mummy brown was simply a poetic name on a label, no different from Venetian red or ivory black. We can't compare the ethic of the pigment trade of the past with what we have today, with modern mineral and organic chemistry. Those are two different worlds. Yes, what they did with mummy brown is macabre, but artists have always been willing to explore the most absurd and gruesome ideas simply to have the perfect color in their paintings. The end came in the early 20th century. By then, the public had become more aware and more uneasy about the pigment's true origins, and Egyptian authorities also started to strictly control archaeology and the conservation of antiquities, making the trade illegal and archaeology highly regulated. There is still a wide question on the whole ethics and the general idea of displaying human corpses and sculptures that weren't made for that in the first place. But that's not the point for us here. We're just talking about pigments and paints. And talking about that, by the 1920s, almost all suppliers stopped producing mummy brown altogether, and the final tube was produced in 1964 from leftover stocks in London by Robertson & Co. In their last statement about it, the company said, "We might have a few odd limbs lying around somewhere, but not enough to make any more paint." So the once celebrated color had finally, and quite literally, gone extinct. Today, painters who want the same warm, transparent brown often turn to caput mortuum, a mineral pigment whose name literally means dead head. Caput is head, mortuum, dead. It's an ironic echo of the name of its predecessor. Now, there is a common misconception that mummy brown and caput mortuum are the same thing, and given the macabre name, one can understand the confusion, and maybe at some point the words were interchangeable, but today they're definitely very different things. Despite the spooky name, modern caput mortuum is made from iron oxide, just iron oxide, not ancient flesh. Caput mortuum derives its Latin etymology from ancient chemistry, where it means residue from which nothing can be extracted. See, it's a lot better. It comes from the final operations performed with iron oxide, meaning when you are done processing the iron oxide, you are left with this unusable thing. That's why it's called dead head, caput mortuum. But the best thing about this unusable iron oxide residue is that actually we can use it, and it really has a pretty interesting tone. Compared to mummy brown, it has a similar reddish violet undertone, although much more pronounced, I would say, and works beautifully for glazing, portraits, and warm, muted areas in the shadows. I think that the modern caput mortuum you can find in art stores today is a genuinely interesting pigment for skin shadows and complex browns. It is much more in the magenta range, and this is probably something that you could also achieve by mixing, a regular brown like burnt umber with some type of magenta. Really, in this case, it's very interesting that this is a single pigment that is capable of reaching past the red side of the color wheel and reach towards the sort of dark, deep, intense magenta range. Is it an essential brown to get? No, because you can achieve the same hue and even the same undertone with some of the pigments that you have on a regular palette. But I think that this is a very interesting color to explore if you want something quite unique. It's a brown that's not part of the orange side of the color wheel. So while the original Mummy Brown belongs to a bizarre and uncomfortable chapter of art history, the modern substitute, Caput Mortuum, lets us keep the beauty without the human remains, and we still have a pigment with a cool, dark, macabre name, which is part of the appeal, let's face it. In a way, Deadhead Caput Mortuum sounds even cooler and is a very interesting brown, definitely worth checking out. It's pretty metal. So when I look at Mummy Brown, I can't stop but wonder, all of this for a simple brown? Brown is such a generic, easy color to obtain. Just dig a hole in the ground and you'll get a brown, right? Well, it's actually not that easy, even for a simple color such as brown. This is where understanding pigments is crucial. Each one has a subtle chemistry, some characteristics that make it unique. Its consistency, transparency, its undertone, drying time. Today, thanks to modern chemistry, our browns are precisely controlled in labs and factories, but artists of the past didn't have this luxury. They would have died for a good tube of brown, or maybe rather dug up the dead to get it. Mummy Brown reminds us that even beauty can have some very dark origins, and while we can feel appalled at the absurdity of Mummy Brown now, it's also a testament to the length artists have gone throughout history to capture the perfect color. Yes, and in case you're wondering, yes, this is fake. I faked a tube. I don't own Mummy Brown. I don't own Mummy Powder. Don't worry, this is all fake.